the chaotic final days of World War II, Colonel Friedrich Kramer was a figure both feared and respected. Known for his strategic brilliance and ruthless efficiency, he commanded troops across the European front. But in April of 1945, as the Third Reich crumbled under the advancing Allied forces, Kramer vanished without a trace. One day he was coordinating troop movements from his command post, the next gone. Soldiers searching the area found nothing but his half-packed belongings, a few scattered maps, and a personal journal, its pages abruptly ending mid-sentence. It was as if the earth itself had swallowed him whole. Rumors began to spread almost immediately. Some claimed he had been executed by retreating allies, while others whispered that he had secretly fled to the mountains, taking something of immense value with him. Witnesses reported seeing a lone figure moving through the snow-covered Alpine passes, but none could confirm it was Kramer. Even his closest officers were left with more questions than answers, debating whether he had been clever enough to disappear by his own design, or if forces beyond human comprehension had intervened. As months turned into years, the mystery only deepened. The Allied forces found traces of Kramer's presence in isolated villages, an empty cabin, strange footprints leading into the forest, and messages written in code that no one could fully decipher. Historians and amateur hunters alike speculated endlessly, piecing together fragments of evidence into wild theories. Yet, no concrete answer ever emerged. Colonel Kramer had vanished completely, leaving behind a story that would haunt Europe for decades, and a secret that seemed determined to remain buried for decades after Colonel Kramer's disappearance. His fate remained one of history's most puzzling enigmas. Historians scoured archives, piecing together military reports, intercepted letters, and eyewitness accounts, but the trail always went cold. Amateur treasure hunters and conspiracy theorists took up the chase, convinced Kramer had hidden more than just himself in the Alps. Perhaps secret documents, stolen artifacts, or something far darker. Each lead seemed promising at first, only to vanish as mysteriously as Kramer himself. Maps with cryptic symbols, coded letters, and half-buried items teased the truth, yet nothing ever led to a final answer. Whispers of Kramer's supposed survival fueled wild speculation. Some claimed he had assumed a new identity and lived out his life in secrecy, watching the world from the shadows. Others suggested he had been involved in a clandestine project, something so secret that even the most determined investigators could not follow the trail. Rumors told of a network of safe houses scattered across the Alps, accessible only to those who knew Kramer's intricate codes and signals. People reported seeing strange lights flickering in remote mountain valleys and hearing distant footsteps in the dead of night, all attributed to the ghostly presence of the vanished colonel. As time passed, the legend of Kramer grew, intertwining fact and fiction in ways that made it nearly impossible to separate one from the other. Novels, documentaries, and unsolved case files perpetuated his story, keeping it alive in both academic circles and local folklore. Yet, despite endless speculation, no one could definitively explain why he disappeared or what he might have taken with him. Each new clue raised more questions than answers, and every lead seemed to circle back to the same haunting possibility. Kramer's disappearance was not random, and his secrets were far from ordinary. 78 years after Colonel Kramer vanished, a group of hikers exploring a rarely traveled trail in the Austrian Alps stumbled upon something that would reignite the mystery. The path was overgrown, hidden beneath years of snowmelt and creeping forest, and it seemed almost impossible to traverse. But as the hikers pushed through the dense underbrush, they noticed a formation of jagged rocks that appeared unusually arranged, as if deliberately concealing something. Curiosity drove them forward, and behind the camouflaged rocks, partially buried in moss and ice, they found the outline of an old cabin, untouched for decades. The exterior was weathered, yet remarkably intact, with wooden shutters hanging crookedly and a door that creaked eerily when pushed open. Inside, the air was thick with dust, the scent of damp wood, and decay lingering like a frozen memory. The room was filled with relics of a life abruptly abandoned. A faded coat draped over a chair, maps scattered across a desk, and old tin cans stacked in the corner. On the walls were framed photographs, some of Kramer himself, others of landscapes that seemed oddly familiar. Each item whispered secrets of a man who had lived in isolation, meticulously planning and hiding, yet leaving a trail that invited discovery. Most haunting of all were the personal belongings that seemed deliberately left in place, almost as if Kramer expected someone to find them one day. Among the scattered papers and journals, the hikers discovered maps with coded markings, cryptic notes scribbled in the margins, and small personal trinkets, rings, a compass, a watch stopped at a peculiar time. It was clear that Kramer had not just vanished into the wilderness. He had constructed a carefully hidden world designed to endure long after he was gone. Every object raised questions. Why here? Why now? And what secrets had remained untouched, waiting to be uncovered after nearly 8 decades? Among the dust-covered belongings in Colonel Kramer's Alpine cabin, the hikers discovered a leather-bound journal that immediately drew their attention. Its pages were yellowed and brittle, filled with meticulous handwriting, strange symbols, and coded messages that seemed almost impossible to decipher. The journal detailed Kramer's daily routines, his observations of the surrounding terrain, and cryptic references to something he called the Alpine project. Each entry was filled with tension, as if Kramer himself was haunted by what he had done, or what he had uncovered. The more the hikers read, the more the cabin seemed to close in on them, the shadows in the corners stretching as if listening. In addition to the journal, there were stacks of maps marked with intricate routes, hidden compartments in the floorboards containing mysterious metal objects, and even sketches of devices whose purpose was unknown. One note, written in bold letters, warned, "Some truths must never be unearthed." It suggested that Kramer had discovered, or perhaps created, something far beyond ordinary understanding, something dangerous enough that even decades later, its presence seemed to linger like a silent threat. The hikers couldn't shake the feeling that the cabin itself was alive with his secrets, each object a piece of a puzzle meant to challenge anyone who dared to look too closely. Perhaps the most chilling discovery was a collection of personal letters, unsigned and never sent, that spoke of betrayal, fear, and an unnamed adversary. Kramer wrote of being watched, of plans being sabotaged, and of a relentless pursuit that seemed to stretch across years. These documents hinted that his disappearance was not just an act of evasion, but a desperate attempt to protect something or someone from a force he never fully named. The cabin, once a refuge, had become a vault of suspense, a monument to secrets carefully hidden from the world. Every item inside seemed to whisper, daring the intruders to piece together a truth that may have been meant to remain buried forever. As news of the cabin's discovery spread, Those who visited, or even glimpsed photographs of the site, began reporting strange and unsettling phenomena. Hikers described sudden drops in temperature, eerie whispers echoing through the trees, and shadows that seemed to shift just beyond the edge of vision. Some claimed to see fleeting figures moving past windows, or hear footsteps pacing above the cabin floor when no one else was there. It was as if Colonel Kramer's presence lingered, not just in the objects he left behind, but in the very walls of the cabin, as though the mountains themselves were guarding his secrets. Investigators who arrived to document the site noted anomalies that could not easily be explained. The journal, maps, and letters appeared to have been moved subtly between visits, though no one had been inside the cabin in weeks. Footprints in the snow around the cabin appeared and vanished mysteriously, and strange symbols began appearing etched into the surrounding rocks. Symbols that mirrored the coded writings in Kramer's journal. Even the locals whispered that the mountains had long held secrets, and that Kramer's disappearance had awakened something beyond mere human understanding. Each discovery seemed to deepen the mystery, blurring the line between reality and legend. Most unsettling of all was the lingering question: did Kramer truly vanish into history, or had he survived in some form, watching from the shadows, waiting for the right moment to reveal himself? The hikers, investigators, and historians alike were left with more questions than answers. What exactly was the Alpine project? What did Kramer hide? And why did it remain so fiercely protected for nearly 8 decades? Every artifact, every note, every shadow raised the possibility that some forces connected to Kramer's secret were still at work. Forces that may not welcome outsiders poking through the past. The mountains held their silence, and with it, a chilling promise that not all secrets are meant to be discovered. As authorities continue to investigate the cabin and the strange phenomena surrounding it, one thing becomes terrifyingly clear: some secrets refuse to stay buried. Colonel Kramer may have vanished from history, but the shadow of his presence lingers in the Alps, watching, waiting, and guarding the truth he left behind. And while we may have uncovered fragments of his story, the deeper mysteries, the Alpine project, the hidden treasures, the warnings in his journal, remain locked away, hidden in the cold mountain air. So the next time you wander through a quiet forest, hear footsteps behind you where none should be, or glimpse a shadow in the corner of your eye, remember this: some secrets aren't gone, they're just waiting for the curious, waiting for the daring. And sometimes waiting is enough to change your life forever. The question isn't whether Colonel Kramer disappeared. The question is, are you ready to face what he left behind?
If you liked this video, don't forget to hit that like button, share it with your friends, and drop your thoughts in the comments below. Most importantly, subscribe and hit the bell icon so the next secret finds you first.